You are locked onto the Texas Rangers. It's episode 555 of the Texas Rangers, Locked on Texas Rangers podcast. It's episode 555 of the Locked on Texas Rangers podcast. On today's episode, I'm talking with prospect analyst Grant Schiller, who had actual eyes on Rangers spring training prospects. He got some real good looks at Jack Leiter, who is impressing in the spring training this weekend, who's looked bad. All that and more coming up on this episode of Locked on Rangers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked on Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked onto the Texas Rangers. I'm your host, Brice Paterik. Here today, joining me is Grant Schiller, the OG prospect analyst, Rangers analyst, insightful baseball person. But first, I want to thank you guys so much for making Locked on Rangers your very first listen every single day. If you're not already, go ahead and follow me on Twitter at Brice Paterik. Follow the show at Locked on Rangers. Follow Grant at OG Shill and subscribe on YouTube. We are closing in. We have passed 600. We are closing. I don't know if we're going to get 400 in the next 2 weeks to hit that 1,000 by opening day, but we'll get there eventually. But I have Grant Schiller here, who has been at spring training. He has seen what he needs to see. Grant, all that to say, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. Great trip. Saw a lot of good stuff. Managed not to get sunburnt, and just got to see, Major League Baseball again. It was fantastic.
I am so insanely jealous of you. I wish I could have been there this year, but alas, they had to have a stupid lockout. I mean, they really had to. It was very necessary and defensive, and did a great job of doing everything that it wanted to. But
well, that's what happens when you have good leadership. I'm just glad that we have a commissioner that we all believe in, has the best interest of baseball at heart. And so when you need a lockout, you have to do a lockout.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just really glad that, we have a commissioner who actually likes baseball and actively works to have the most baseball possible. I mean, that's all you can really ask for. But, there were some active doings this weekend. If you haven't listened to it already, it's a little dated now with Trevor Story officially not signing with the Rangers. But on Saturday night, I did a very late night episode with Rylan Stiles of Locked on Royals and Locked on Thunder fame, talking about the weird madness of the Rangers' interest in Trevor Story being leaked out by a coach's son for Twitter clout. Allegedly, that seems like what it is. I don't know if we'll ever get to the bottom of it, because it's just such a weird story and just absolutely sparked all of baseball Twitter. But the Rangers are not getting Trevor Story. They're not getting 3 of the top 4 shortstops on the market in one offseason. That would have been really hilarious if they did. But he is going to Boston on a 6-year, $140 million contract. He has an opt-out after year 4, according to ESPN sources and several other people that are reporting that. But what were your thoughts when you first heard about the Trevor Story the Rangers signed? Because I was flabbergasted. Because I've had people in YouTube comments and on Twitter being like, "So can the Rangers get Story now?" And I'm like, no, they can't get Story. And it was like, oh, but maybe they can with Kershaw and Seiya Suzuki gone. I don't know. Was this all a smokescreen, or do you think this there was some genuine thought that this could possibly happen? Because I thought there was literally no chance in heck.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that too. I mean, all the sourcing seems to be pretty good. You apparently have the hitting coach's son out there tweeting it, and the plan is to sign him in the outfield. But it seems like the interest was legitimate. So it's interesting. It would have been short term with the Rangers, I guess, is what the word was, which makes more sense. I don't know that he's the kind of guy to spend big money on and take him away from shortstop, where his defense is so valuable. Then again, there's questions about his elbow and whether he can stay there. So I don't know. I think we talked about early in the offseason. He was the shortstop. We were like, let's stay away from that one.
Yeah,
that's not the one I trust long term.
Of the big 4, I counted Semien as one of them, and Baez was just on the next tier. I didn't want him either. We were real sketched off by him. As fun as he is and exciting as he is, he can be fun for someone else, because there's a lot of other complications that come with that. But yeah, I think we also landed on him being the bottom of that group. Actually, I don't know. I think Correa for me was
right,
lower
for
just
personal reasons.
For other reasons. But I think the timing of Correa signing, which him in Minnesota is just absolutely wild to me. But good on Minnesota for making the Yankees take their money and fill up shortstop and third base. And also for both these teams for keeping the Yankees from signing one of these big shortstop guys and having to move IKF off of short there. Like that felt...
That would have been funny, though.
It
would have been real funny.
Objectively, it would have been pretty funny. But, like, personally, I would have been like, oh, that sucks so much for him. For IKF to finally have a spot. Traded twice in one day. And then, boom. You're not the shortstop anymore. But, yeah, no, I think that would have been interesting. And I talked a little bit about it on the Saturday show. But I think him at shortstop and Seager at third base would have made a lot of sense, at least for this year while Josh Young is out. And you have to do a whole bunch of other things next year if it was like a 2-year deal. But, man, because the bats next year, there aren't a whole lot of bats. But anyway, it was a fun thought while it lasted. I'm really just bummed the Rangers didn't get Seiya Suzuki or Clayton Kershaw. The Kershaw one I knew was a bit of a stretch, but the Suzuki one, that one really hurts because that I felt like would have been a really, outside of the moves they've already made, which were amazing and like great, and then Cole Calhoun was also like fine. But Suzuki, I think, made a lot of sense for what this team needs. But you have been out at spring training. You've been seeing guys. There have been actual games. I'm just curious. What were your first thoughts? How long were you there? What all did you see? What all did you do? Is baseball that great in person still? Because I've kind of forgotten.
It is. It's fantastic. So I was there Friday through Monday. So I saw big league games Friday and Monday, and I stayed on the minor league side Saturday and Sunday. Workouts every morning on the minor league side. So I got to see a lot of the lower levels of the farm system is what I really focused on.
That's good because you can't see those guys any other places. You have to travel all the way across the country.
Because I used to go out to spring training every year, so I had a pretty decent idea of at least what they looked like. But 2018 or 2019, I was coaching, so I couldn't break away and get to spring training. 2020, COVID happened 2 days before our trip, and then last year they had the backfields closed, 25% capacity, still COVID, so there was no point really.
Yeah.
So this is the first time in 4 years I've been able to go. So it was great just to be back out there. Feels like home, see spring training baseball, and really get a sense for the lower tiers of the farm system again.
This episode is brought to you by BetOnline. It's that time of year again as college basketball's tournament is finally upon us. From the latest odds, contests, and player props, BetOnline.net is the #1 source for all your sports betting needs and info. If you want to bet on Texas Tech to go really far in the tournament, well, you probably should have done that at the beginning because they're already in the Sweet 16. If your team is not there, sucks to be you. It's really embarrassing. I'd hate to be that in that case, but, that's not the case for Texas Tech fans. But it's not just basketball you can bet on BetOnline. It's your continued source for all of your sporting wagering needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino games. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts. And now back to my talk with Grant Schiller. Oh, that's great, because those are some guys, I had quite a few of those guys, especially like the outfield prospects. Those are the guys who I feel like I know the least about because they are so early in the system, and it's hard. There are not a lot of people with a whole bunch of eyes on them. But man, that you were at that 25-run drubbing yesterday of the Cleveland Guardians, which if you're listening to the Cleveland broadcast, they always called them the Cleveland Indians, and I'm like, guys, this is your team. You should be the ones that know that they're not called that anymore. So maybe they'll get it by the time opening day happens. But my God, 25 runs, like that is.
It was crazy.
I couldn't believe it. It just kept on happening. They kept throwing pitcher after pitcher after pitcher out there, and it was just like the Rangers just kept hitting them. And it wasn't cheapies either.
And it wasn't even like their real lineup.
But see, the only top 3 at bat in their lineup, like in their actual lineup, was Garver. And Garver didn't even really, 1 for 4 with an RBI and a strikeout. Like, this is awesome. For me, you can only take so much out of one spring training game. But what I really loved
which is
was
0.
Which is 0. But Willie Calhoun was making some loud contact. He was
Yeah.
looking really good. 4 hits. All of those were just smacked on a rope. And Bubba Thompson had a couple of pretty strongly hit extra base hits the opposite way. And I think they were off of breaking zone. I couldn't really tell from the broadcast, and there's no pitch tracking data. But I think that home run he had that he went opposite field.
Was it?
think it was.
No, I was asking you. I couldn't tell from my seat.
From what I saw, it looked like a curveball or a slider, like low and away on the outside corner, that he took opposite field to right center and drove it on a line 415 feet, which was like, dang. I don't even think it was like a 3-1 count or anything. Like, I think it was like early in the count, or maybe even with 2 strikes. But like, he looked solid, and I loved Willie Calhoun absolutely spraying things out there. How much joy did it bring you to watch the Rangers just absolutely unload on this team?
Yeah, I mean, it's spring training, so it doesn't matter. But, like, watching your team score 25 runs is still fun. They had, like, 4 at-bats each in the 3rd inning. It was by the end of the 3rd inning. Like, it was insane. So it was a very long game, but it was a very enjoyable long game because it was just them battering Cleveland every inning.
Yeah, I just kept on looking, and I was like, is this still going? This is still going. Oh my gosh, how is this still going? Like, all day, it felt like for several hours. But another guy who had an impressive outing was Josh H. Smith.
Man, I like him.
Had I don't think I'm high enough on him. I mean, I even have him in my top 10.
Is.
But like, I don't know what all did you see from him? How many looks at him did you get this weekend? And like, it looked like a legit shortstop out there.
Yeah, so it's pretty good. So he has a good feel for the strike zone, good plate discipline, so he's gonna walk. Good contact skills, he's not gonna strike out that much, and he hits the ball hard. Like, that's really a pretty simple equation. If you walk, you don't strike out, and you hit the ball hard, you're a pretty good hitter. He's also a pretty good athlete. I don't know that he's a great shortstop, but he can handle it. He'd be a very good second baseman. I think he could handle center field, which I think is hopefully where he ends up with this organization. But, like, that dude is freaking good. Again, like, you do those 3 things at the plate, you're going to be a good hitter. Like, you don't need to overanalyze that. Yeah,
that's really solid. And something early that really stood out to me was Dania Bonyas just absolutely picking it at third base. He had like several really
I've ever seen from him.
Cleveland's broadcast was like really impressed with him, and I was too. He had like 3 really solid diving stops. And I can't say it's a coincidence, because who was there this weekend at camp? It was Adrian Beltre. Like, maybe the Beltre magic just rubbed off at anybody who was there.
Maybe.
Did you see Adrian and
I did
catch up with your longtime friend?
Well, he I don't know if you saw it, but he fooled me. They had a simulated game, or they had an inter-squad game on the backfields. And at the start of one inning, he grabbed the bat and the helmet and started walking out towards the plate. He got in the batter's box, dug in a little bit, and then he walked on over to the other dugout. So I was like tapping my dad. I was like, "Hey, like Beltre's gonna hit," and then he walked on off.
Oh, that trickster! Oh, that would have been so funny. What a guy! What a freaking guy! But apparently, he spent a lot of time with Marcus Semien, and Marcus Semien has been spending a lot of time with Willie Calhoun. And I didn't realize how similar those guys were. Evan Grant wrote an article in the Dallas Morning News about it, about Semien really taking Willie Calhoun under his wing. But they're both from the Bay Area. They're both guys who struggled earlier in their careers. Both have fathers that are working in the corrections career field, for lack of a better term. But like something somewhere in the prison system, I think both of them are working there. But they really have a whole lot in common, and they both, had a really, really rough 2020 with some of the Black Lives Matter protests that were going on, the like aggravation of like race relations, and dealing with the pandemic, just all of that stuff. It really hit both of them very hard, and they were able to relate to each other, because there aren't a whole lot of black players in baseball, and that's something that really, I mean, you can't take a whole lot away from spring training, but that's something that I think is really important, and I'm hoping that friendship and that bond can be very strong. They can both absolutely rake this year, because Man, Willie needs a break. Like, Willie needs something to break right for him.
This is his last chance, yeah.
Which, it feels like we've been saying that for like 4 years, doesn't it?
Yeah, yes, it does. This is his last chance, I think.
I think he's out of, like, he's a free agent after this season, I'm pretty sure.
No way.
Is he?
Is he?
I don't know, because it feels like he's been up for so long. Like, it feels like he's at least parts of seasons. I don't know how he's
his
not.
service time is just over 3 years.
Good God. And he's been up at some point. I mean, he's debut in, what, 2015? Was it
2017.
2017. Okay, well, it hasn't been that long, but still, that's 5 years ago. Oh, my God. That's 5 years ago. Whoa. That's wild. But still, he's a guy who's got immense potential, and, like, he could be a real... I think he could be a real difference in this lineup being, like, pretty good. You got three really strong guys at the top, and, like, maybe Nathaniel Lowe improves like I think he will. But if Willie gets anywhere close to, like, what we know that he is capable of, then, like, that really makes a difference from this lineup being pretty decent to pretty deep. This episode is brought to you by RockAuto.com. With the ever-increasing number of makes and models, it's now impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts you need. Why would you endure all these pointless questions from the person behind the counter while they order parts on their computer, choosing the only brand their warehouse happens to carry? You have computers with access to RockAuto.com at home and in your pocket. You can save time and money when using Rock Auto. Why would you spend 30, 50, even 100% more for the same parts from a chain store or a car dealership? Rock Auto is a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years, and their prices are reliably low for every single customer. They got everything that you could possibly need for your car: tail lamps, motor oil, even new carpet. Go explore their easy-to-use website today to find the solution to your auto part needs. Go to rockauto.com right now. See all the parts available for your car or truck right locked on in their How'd You Hear About Us box, so they know we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need at rockauto.com. And now, back to my talk with Grant Schiller.
Yeah. He's 27 now. He's really not been very good as a big leaguer to this point, because I don't think the power has come as we expected it to. And he's not someone who typically hits moonshots, so the switch on ballparks has hurt him more than other guys. But at the same time, dude came up like, dude was a hitter. So you hope it's still in there. You hope this is going to be the breakout year. I'm trying not to set my expectations too high because I don't want to be disappointed. But there's a really good hitter in there somewhere. The extent to which he is one, like, can he really carry an MLB DH role for a good team? I don't know. Like, we'll see. I just hope we get to see the fully maximized Willie and then actually evaluate it. Because part of the reason he struggled so much is because every time he gets hot, it feels like he gets hurt.
Yeah, I mean,
bunch of freak accidents.
Yeah, like get hit twice and break bones both times, hit in the face, scary as heck, and then the hamstring issue popped up as soon as he was healthy again in 2020, and that just sucks. And then last year he broke his arm, or I think it was his arm.
Wrist, arm.
I think it was his forearm, a bone in there that had him out for several months as well. It's just. He just cannot catch a break. And even the one season when he was the healthiest and he was really starting to break out, I mean, he did still play 75 games last year, because I feel like I didn't see him like at all. But the year that he played the most games, he had an 848 OPS, which, you'd probably want to be just like a little bit better for full-time DH, but 21 home runs, 14 doubles in 337 plate appearances, 83 games. Like, that's solid. If he could have just gotten that on base up like another 20, 30 points into the like 350s as opposed to 320, which is where it was, then that's a solid hitter. That's a guy who can be a DH. If you got like a 900 OPS, that's solid. I just wanted to be healthy. Like, that's the bar none. I think the most important thing is for him to be healthy, and nobody better hit him with some freaking pitches, because that dude has been beamed enough. Just leave him alone. Don't break any more of his bones, you jerk pitchers. But anyway, you got some eyes on some young guys, which out of context sounds very wrong. We're talking about baseball guys.
Baseball players in a baseball context, mostly of age.
You scouted some baseball players who are early in their careers. There we go.
That's not much better either.
Nope. That sounds. You were watching from the shadow. No. But
I was behind the fence watching young boys
while the kids were playing baseball. Yeah, we're gonna get you on some kind of watch list if this keeps up. But anyway, who are some young guys that stand out? I know you got to see a lot of guys that you hadn't seen before, but
yeah. So I've got my list of notes here. I'll try and run through them pretty quickly. If I ramble on too long, just cut me off, ask me questions, tell me I need to shut up, because I got quite a few notes here. So this is in no particular order. I kind of organized them myself into good, bad, and neither. I don't know that everything fully applies into those categories, but just my impressions of these guys.
I mean, technically it should. If it's not good nor bad, then by definition it's neither. So
right. So I'll just start off with the good category. I like Dania Cueva. He's a young middle infield prospect, international guy. Dania, great name first of all. But he's got bad speed. He just kind of throws his bat head at the ball. He's pretty athletic. Generates some lift. It's one of those real simple swings that he's going to have really good contact ability. Defensively, he was pretty strong going to the forehand side. He looked pretty comfortable going backhand. But he's a young guy who I like. Thomas Sajasi, which I did get confirmation that's how you pronounce it, is Sajasi.
It is?
That's what his coach told me.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, because there was a listener, Josh, who's a Twitter friend who has a kid who in his class, he's a teacher who has a last name that's spelled exactly like that, and he said Sagussi, and I was like,
that is not.
That
is yeah.
So hold on, how do I actually pronounce it?
According to I guess what his coach told Jamie Newberg next to me, was Sajasi.
Sajasi. Okay. Well, I will try not to butcher that.
Yeah,
no
so that caught me out. That was a surprise, actually. But
the pronunciation or how he looked.
The pronunciation. So I don't know that I love him quite as much as the organization does, but I mean, everybody out there is like, this dude is 80 makeup. Like, love him as a person. I mean, like, he has good hips, good bat plane, enough bat speed. I don't think he's a shortstop. I don't think that's his spot. But he's definitely interesting. Organization loves that dude. Evan Carter, my first look at him. I liked him quite a bit. The ball really carries off the bat. Good plate coverage. I mean, great feel for the zone. Super patient. He's going to walk a ton. And then when he sees a pitch he likes, he attacked it. I saw him on the minor league field I think it was 5 pitches he took to get to 3-2. Probably should have been four balls in there. And then the pitch, he drove over the right center field fence. I mean, it was wind dated for a home run, but he crushed that ball. The only concern I had there, besides the back issues, which can recur quite often, is his body is shaped like Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. He has the thinnest hips and the thinnest shoulders. Like, I do not know that guy's going to be able to put on a ton of weight.
How's the booty?
Oh, it's small.
Flat
it's not
booty?
A good baseball butt.
Evan Carter, come on.
I don't know that he has the hips to support a big booty.
So you're saying his hips do lie?
No. Well, his hips are this wide.
Huh. I guess I haven't really thought about Shaggy being like, an hourglass frame, but I was thinking more of like just hunched. It's not hourglass. It's just stick with right. Tall, lanky, and kind of hunched over Scoob.
Yeah, like that. That's the only concern. Is I don't know how much weight he's gonna be able to put on that frame.
Do you see him in center field at all?
I didn't really get to see him defensively that much. I don't know. He didn't strike me. Well, when I saw him on the base pass, once he got going, he was pretty quick. So I don't know. I don't know.
Wow, you're not just gonna lie and make something up.
Nope,
I respect you for
I'm
it.
Not. Larson Kindrich. I don't know if that's how it's pronounced. Kindrich. 8th round pick last year out of Biola College. I had not heard of him before I saw him.
I have not heard of Biola before he was drafted.
Yeah,
I was like,
me neither. But he was interesting. Lefty arm. He was 1992 with the fastball. Looked like he was spinning it pretty well. He commanded it well. He had some feel for a changeup.
is he
He
tall?
had a usable to average. He was pretty tall. I think he's 6'3" ish. Usable to average curveball and slider. He was pretty interesting. It was kind of Jake Latz-ish, honestly, like a younger Jake Latz. So he was interesting. He's somebody to follow as he gets going. I imagine he'll be low A to start the season since he's a college. Yason Morabel, what I have written down here is that he needs an ass, but the ball really carries off his bat. He's raw, but a really good athlete. I mean, lots of potential there.
Well, that's good, because I had him probably much higher than you felt comfortable at 20 in my top 30.
That seems about right. I think I might have had him on my personal just for fun list, even in the teens.
Yeah, and that was one of the ones. I think he's the highest one up of the guys that I'm like, they're still so young, and I have really no idea what to expect from them. That's the thing.
I feel like, I mean, jumping totally off topic here, but I feel like prospect list, it should be like, here's the top however many guys who have played affiliated ball, and we have seen some level of them against a decent level of play. And then here's just a list of names that are interesting below there. I wish that's how it worked, because Yason Morabel, super interesting, tons of potential, great athlete, really hits the ball with some pop for his frame and can add to it.
Well, that might be something that I experiment with next year.
Nobody knows if he can play baseball. Like, he's like 18. He doesn't really have.
Yeah, I think he's 18 this year.
Yeah.
He just turned it in the off season, right towards the end. But I don't know, there's some things that encourage me. But I think he had what looked like decent power number for his size. Really, I mean, his on base was pretty solid, and seemed like he had a pretty polished approach for a kid his age, putting up those numbers that he did at that level at that age.
And speaking of guys that age, the potential breakout super young guy is 17-year-old Glider Figueroa. Played second base when I was there. Not somebody I'd heard of. It's a really smooth sprint swing. I think he's going to grow into power. The swing does need to get a little bit shorter, and obviously at 17, he was overwhelmed. But it looked like there were some tools there. Good base to work off of. Really interesting guy.
Who was he facing that he had to be overwhelmed by? Do you remember what kind of level?
He was facing more low A level. So
okay. I mean, that's
well above what he's going to be playing against.
For sure. Years.
But just the fact that he's even over here stateside for spring training kind of tells you what the organization thinks of him at 17. Because
how many guys like that at 17 do they usually have stateside, and do they have a separate spring training in the Dominican Republic?
Yes,
that's going on the same time.
Yeah, I don't know that it's quite as structured as that. I guess
because their season starts June, maybe.
Yes, I think they have stuff going on there mostly year round though.
Yeah, but the actual Dominican Summer League stuff that's affiliated, right. I don't think starts till around the same time that short season, or short season. Which is that even still a thing? Is there still even short season? Okay. Well, then
for Arizona and Dominican, short season A ball is gone.
Okay. I was about to say, because I'm the Rangers lost Spokane, and I'm I don't remember them getting a short season anywhere other affiliate, but just another dumb thing. But at least the good news is on minor league ball. I don't think I talked about it on an episode before, but we're getting the original league names back. Yes. We're not doing high A East, South by Northwest, or the Texas League isn't going to be Double A South. Yes. I'm I don't know why they did that. It was stupid, but I'm glad they're finally going back, and I can call it the Texas League or the Sally League versus the Carolina League, because that was already confusing enough with switching what level both of those teams were, and then I had to the high A East. There was no.
I don't know. I'm partial to Double A South North Division.
Well,
that's just me.
I don't. What were the divisions called, or what I guess are the divisions called now? I can't.
I think they're probably still North and South.
Okay. It's not like the Big Ten leaders and legends.
Right.
But who are some of the other young guys that are on your list?
So I've got Abbey, Mellick, Ortiz. Looks like a first base only body, but it's plus pop. One of those guys who's gonna have to really hit to make it, but plus pop gives you a shot.
Mm-hmm.
I really like Luis Angel Cunha. I think
Good.
To me he's a definite shortstop. Plus arm, smooth actions, good athlete. I think he's going to be a really good defender. Keeps the bat in the zone a long time. Showed some pop. Swinging might be a little bit inconsistent, but I think that guy has a chance to be really, really good. So I liked him quite a bit. Marcus Smith, the other piece in the Mike Minor trade, crazy athlete. I mean, home run power.
What is he? Is he an
speed.
infielder, or do we know? Is he just like so raw? It's just
he's
like
an outfielder.
Okay.
So if he can stay healthy, I think he's gonna have a breakout year because he's just a lot of athleticism, power, speed. Gives you a lot of room for error in other areas. Speaking of that trade, Dustin Harris, I didn't get to see much of him, but he just has that look about him of a guy who could be a really good major league hitter. I mean, he swings not too long, and it is mean and powerful. I
think he got in a little bit on that 25-run game that the Rangers had. I don't know if he played.
Did he? I think he played.
Oh no, it was Krim. It was Blake Krim. That was. Hold on, who did you just say that I just mistook him for?
Dustin Harris.
Dustin Harris. Okay, yeah, no, those two I keep switching. No, it was Blaine Krim, the one that I didn't have on my top 30. That was like just on the edge there. But I'm glad you said that about Luis Angel Cunha, because of the guys that are in my like top like 15-ish that are like listed at shortstop, from what I'd read, I was like, I think he's the most likely to stay at shortstop, but I'm like, I don't have any eyes on him, and I don't know that many people that have. But if you say that, then I feel much more confident in saying it with you as my hashtag source. And that's going to do it for this edition of Locked On Rangers. I'll be back tomorrow with another episode with Grant. Yes, we are back to 5 episodes a week. I think we'll be at 4 this week because we're going Tuesday through Friday as opposed to Monday, which I took off for my birthday. Sorry, not sorry. It's a great day. Don't regret it. But we had some great stuff from Grant, who had some boots on the ground looking at these guys, some firsthand account on all these guys who I have been waiting for him to be able to see and tell me how good they are and tell all of you how good they are. But really glad to have him back again tomorrow with another episode with him. That's going to do it for this edition of Locked On Rangers. And until next time, don't forget to enjoy baseball.